Alright, in this tutorial we're going to go over pause nodes. So the first thing we're going to do is right click, go to Create, EasyTalk Dialogue, and double click the dialog to open it in the editor. And we're going to just do a basic setup at a entry and exit node. We'll go ahead and move these over here like this, and then create two conversation nodes and move them to position something like this, and then just connect the entry node to this conversation node and connect this one to the exit, and then between them we're going to add a pause node. So hold the Alt key and click on pause, and then connect that up to the different conversation nodes here. And now I'm going to just type before pause and after pause here, and then save this. And basically what's going to happen here is when we play the dialogue, we should see before pause, and then it's going to get to this pause node and it will pause and not continue on to the next part of the dialogue. So we'll go ahead and just make sure you set the dialogue asset on your controller, and then we'll play the dialogue and show you what happens. So if I click play dialogue, you see before pause, and then if I click continue, it just hangs and doesn't do anything. And that's because the way the pause node works is it essentially pauses the dialogue, playback, and it waits for some other code or functionality to tell it to continue instead of using the typical continuation system. So if I want this dialogue to continue again, then I'm going to need my own script or some kind of functionality, which we'll call continue on the dialogue controller. So we're just going to create a new script by going to create scripting mono behavior, and we'll just call this pause test. Now if I open that up in my IDE, then I can import the EasyTalk controller, and then create another variable for the controller, and make it serializable. That way we can set it in the inspector. And then I can just go in here and say if input.getKeyDown keycode.space, then controller.continue. Save that. We'll go back into the editor. And let's just create a new empty game object. We'll call this pause test. Add a pause test component, and then set the controller on it. And now if we go back here and play this again, click play dialogue, we can click continue, and you'll see that it stays here, but if we hit space, then it goes to the next part of the dialogue after the pause. So the next thing that I wanted to show with this is how we can actually hide the dialogue whenever we encounter a pause node. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to just go into our dialogue display, go into the general settings, and you'll see that there's this hide on pause toggle. So if we set that to true, and then we go and play the dialogue, we see before pause, we click continue, and then our dialogue is hidden. Now if we hit the space key, which we set in our code here to continue, you'll see that it shows the display again, and then we see after pause in there. So the last thing that I wanted to mention here is you can actually create a custom dialogue listener, which will listen for the on pause event and do specific logic. So yeah, that's the basics of pause nodes. Hope you learned something, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.